My mom called while I was driving my 6-year-old to the airport and told me not to come to Thanksgiving because my daughter was embarrassing. We were literally on the freeway. Hazel heard everything. That was a year ago. And when my family finally saw us again, at my wedding, their faces went completely pale. Because I didn't just move on. I replaced them. Let me back up. So there we were, November, day before Thanksgiving. I'm driving, Hazel's in the back seat kicking her feet like she's got springs attached. She'd been counting down to this trip for weeks. She made place cards at school, little folded papers with our names and turkeys that looked like they'd survived an explosion. She was so excited to see her grandparents. "Do you think Miles will play with me this time?" she asked. Miles was my sister Heather's son. 7 years old, treated Hazel like an app he could close whenever he got bored. "I'm sure he will," I lied. "And Savannah is going to show me her new Barbie." Savannah was Heather's daughter. 9 years old with the facial expressions of someone who reviews restaurants for a living. Hazel hummed, hugging this little stuffed fox she'd insisted on bringing. She kept saying Grandma's house like it was some magical place. I was cautiously hopeful. Maybe this year everyone would act like adults for 4 hours. Then my phone rang. "Mom." "Hey," I said, putting it on speaker because I was driving. "Hi, Lindsay." Her tone was too careful. Like someone trying to move a vase without letting you hear it scrape. "Hi, Mom. We're on the way." "Listen." She cut me off. "We've been talking. And we think it's best if you don't come this year." I blinked like my eyes could reboot the sentence. "What?" "Your daughter is embarrassing. We don't want her there. Heather needs a drama-free day." My body made a decision without consulting me. I flicked on my hazards and pulled onto the shoulder. "Mom?" Hazel's voice came from the back seat. Small. Confused. That's when I knew. Hazel heard it. I tapped the screen and took the call off speaker, like snatching a knife off the floor before a child steps on it. "Mom," I hissed. "I'm driving. Hazel is in the car." "What are you talking about?" "You heard me," my mother said, the careful tone vanishing. "It's better this way." I looked in the mirror. Hazel wasn't kicking her feet anymore. She was staring straight ahead, Fox hugged tight to her chest like it could protect her. "Hold on," I said. "1 second." I leaned back, keeping my voice gentle. "Sweetheart, stay buckled. I'll be right outside." I was out of the car in seconds. Door shut. Cold air. Highway roar. I lifted the phone again. "Okay. Say it again." Heather doesn't want the stress. She has guests. "We're not doing this." "Guests," I repeated flatly. "So Hazel is what? A bad look?" "Don't start." "I'm not starting. I'm clarifying. You just told me my 6-year-old is embarrassing." "She'll get over it," my mother said like she was talking about a spilled drink. A car blasted past. The wind tugged at my coat. I felt like I was standing in 2 places at once, on a freeway shoulder and at the edge of something I couldn't come back from. "We already have flights. We're literally on the way. And now you're not," she snapped. "Heather needs a drama-free day. Drama-free. Like my child was an unregulated substance. So that's it. It's better this way. We'll see you another time." I waited for the part where she said I'm sorry. She didn't. She ended the call. I stood there staring at my phone like it might ring again with an apology. It didn't. So I called the person whose comfort apparently ran the holiday calendar. Heather picked up on the second ring. "What? Did you tell Mom not to let us come? Because of Hazel?" A sigh. "Lindsay, I have people coming." "People. Chad has clients," she added, like that made it noble. My stomach went cold. "So you didn't want questions?" Silence. "I don't want a scene," Heather said. "My child exists. That's the scene. You're doing it right now. This is why nobody can deal with you. You make everything dramatic." I didn't argue. There was no point. "Okay," I said, calm. Got it. And I ended the call. I climbed back in the car. Hazel's eyes flicked to my face immediately. Searching. Hey, I said softly. They don't want me. My throat tightened. I wanted to scream into the steering wheel, but Hazel was watching me. And I had one job. No, I said automatically. Don't lie, Hazel said, voice wobbling. I heard it. Grandma said I'm embarrassing. I stared at the highway. My hazards blinked steady and bright, like my car was quietly calling for help. And something clicked. I could still make this day about us. I turned the car around. I drove us to an ice cream shop because I didn't know what else to do with a broken heart and a child who still believed in grandparents. Pick whatever you want. 2 scoops. Even sprinkles? Especially sprinkles. We sat by the window. Hazel stared at her sundae and didn't eat it. Then I noticed the table next to us. An older couple, their daughter, and a little girl about Hazel's age. Just together. Easy. Like nobody had to earn their place. My throat tightened. I looked away fast. The older woman leaned over. Hey, are you okay? I opened my mouth to say fine. Nothing came out. Hazel sniffed beside me, quiet, trying to be small enough to not cause trouble. The woman softened. Would you two like to sit with us? Before I could answer, their little girl walked over to Hazel. I'm Ava. Do you like unicorns? Hazel blinked. Yeah. Come on, Ava said, and Hazel followed her to the play corner like her body remembered how to be a kid. The older woman smiled. I'm Carol. This is Arthur. And that's our daughter, Rebecca. Lindsay. And Hazel. Carol nodded toward the play corner. She's got a good kid vibe. Arthur slid a napkin toward me without making it a thing. Small gesture. Big impact. Rebecca gave me a sympathetic look. Holidays can be a lot. I let out a breath that wasn't quite a laugh. That's one way to put it. Carol watched me quietly. Are you okay? I should have said yes. Should have kept it together like I always did. But my mouth betrayed me. Not really. We were supposed to fly home for Thanksgiving, and my mom called and told us not to come. Because of Hazel? Rebecca asked softly. I stared at my hands. Yeah. Carol's voice dropped. What did she say? I hesitated. Then I swallowed hard. That Hazel was embarrassing. Nobody spoke for a beat. How could anyone say that about a child? Carol said quietly, and I could hear the genuine disbelief in her voice. And I realized I'd never actually said it out loud to people who weren't already committed to misunderstanding me. My family's big on tradition, I said. Like turkey and stuffing and pretending I don't exist unless my sister needs an audience. Rebecca let out a short laugh, like she recognized the coping mechanism. Carol didn't laugh. She got it too well. You have a sister. Older. Heather. Just saying her name made my shoulders tighten. Heather was the right daughter. The one who didn't cause problems because she never had to ask for anything. Growing up, Heather's achievements were framed. Mine were acknowledged if nobody was busy. If Heather got an A, that's our girl. If I got an A, good. Keep it up. If Heather cried, the house rearranged itself around her. If I cried, don't start. Heather married Chad, a man my parents approved of like they were judging a reality show. He fit perfectly. Button-down shirts, firm handshakes, laughed at my dad's jokes. When her son Miles was born, my mother announced it like the royal family had produced an heir. When Hazel was born, my mother said, well, that's going to be hard. I didn't say all that to Carol and Arthur. Not yet. Because my parents weren't villains. They could be sweet sometimes, in small, confusing bursts. A birthday card here. A toy mailed once. A tell Hazel I love her tacked onto the end of a phone call like a spare thought. Just enough to keep me hoping. Just enough to keep me trying. Hazel's father was a relationship I thought would become a life. He was charming in public. Behind closed doors, the charm curdled. It became abusive. One night, I packed a bag, buckled Hazel into her car seat and drove to my parents' house because I genuinely thought this is what family is for. I pictured my mother pulling me in and saying, "You're safe." What I got was, "Are you sure?" He seemed fine. "You've always been sensitive, Lindsay." Sensitive. The family motto. I told them the truth as carefully as I could. "He's not who you think he is." My mother said, "Don't dramatize." They let us stay. But staying felt like living inside a warning label. My mother would sigh when Hazel cried, like the sound was personally offensive. My father would look at the TV when I talked, as if eye contact might obligate him to care. She'd say things like, "It's going to be harder doing this alone." And, "It's a shame things didn't work out." As if the problem was the aesthetic of my life, not the safety of it. Once, I said I was relieved I wasn't married to him. I meant it practically. Divorce is expensive and exhausting. My mother stared at me like I'd confessed to a crime. Families figure it out. People don't just leave. I remember thinking, yes, they do. I just did. But I didn't say that. I swallowed it. I told myself my mother was old-fashioned. That she didn't understand abuse. That she wanted what was best. I told myself a lot of things. Then one afternoon, my mother mentioned company coming over, people from church, neighbors, nice people, and she said, "Why don't you take Hazel out for a bit?" Not because Hazel needed fresh air. Because my mother didn't want to explain me. I took Hazel to a park and watched her wobble on a slide and thought, at least she's happy. My parents didn't say you have to leave. They said things like, "So what's your plan? And you can't stay here forever." Eventually, I got a job offer. A decent one. But it was far enough that visiting meant planning, tickets, the whole production. I stood in the kitchen with the offer letter in my hand, Hazel on my hip, and said, "It's really far. I think I should keep looking for something local. Just a little longer." I expected them to say, "Of course. We can help. Stay. Find the right thing." My mother didn't hesitate. A job is a job. You don't turn that down. You can't be picky, my father added without looking up. You don't want to be stuck here forever, my mother said. The words landed like a door closing. So I took the job. I moved. I built a life far away. I told myself it was independence. But it was also exile with better branding. Despite everything, Hazel kept asking about her grandparents. Other kids talked about theirs, and she wanted to belong. So when my mother called her embarrassing, it didn't just hurt me. It hit Hazel. And that was the final straw. I could swallow shame aimed at me. But I wasn't going to teach my daughter to swallow it too. Sitting in that ice cream shop watching Hazel play with Ava, I finally saw the truth. It didn't have to be like this. When Carol said, "Come to our Thanksgiving tomorrow," I understood it wasn't pity. It was a door. I went. Because Hazel deserved a holiday where she wasn't treated like a problem to manage. Carol's house smelled like actual Thanksgiving. Turkey, butter, cinnamon, something baking that made the whole place feel warm. Arthur opened the door with a grin like we were expected, not accommodated. "Lindsay, you made it." Hazel hovered behind me, clutching her fox. Then Ava appeared. "You're here." Like it was the best news ever. Hazel's shoulders dropped 1 inch, then another. Carol handed me a glass of something warm. "Kitchen's that way. Shoes wherever. Your family today. Family today." Coming from Carol, it felt like truth. Hazel and Ava disappeared into a room full of toys, and I stood there in the entryway with my coat still on, blinking. Then my phone buzzed. Facebook. A photo of my parents at the table with Heather and Chad, Miles and Savannah. All smiling. Posed. Perfect. Caption, "Nothing like time with the grandkids." Hearts everywhere. Comments saying, "So beautiful and blessed." No mention of me. No mention of Hazel. Not even a polite lie like missing someone. Just clean erasure. I stared at it for a long second, and something in me went very still. Not sad. Not shocked. Done. I slid my phone back into my pocket and walked into Carol's kitchen. Carol glanced at my face and didn't ask. She just nudged a plate toward me. Sit. Eat while it's hot. And here's the thing. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't hurt. Because I finally understood my tears were wasted on people who used them as proof I was dramatic. So I took action. A quiet internal decision so firm it felt like steel. Hazel would never audition for love again. Later, while we were eating, Hazel leaned toward me and asked very softly, "Mom, do you think Grandma will ever want me?" My fork paused midair. Across the table, Carol didn't look at me. She didn't need to. I could feel her listening. I forced my voice into calm. "You are not the problem," I said. "Not ever." Hazel nodded like she wanted to believe me but wasn't sure she was allowed to. Rebecca reached over and slid Hazel an extra roll. "No fuss. No poor baby. Just here. You're included." After Thanksgiving, my parents didn't text. I didn't text. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. It was mutual silence that proved how conditional my place in that family had always been. If I wasn't showing up to be managed, nobody came looking. Meanwhile, Sunday dinners at Carol and Arthur's became normal. Every week, 5 o'clock. Like a standing appointment with safety. Slowly, Hazel's drawings appeared on their fridge. A kid cup stayed in the cabinet like it lived there. Ava saved Hazel a seat without being told. Arthur asked Hazel about school like her answer actually mattered. One Sunday, Hazel spilled apple juice on the table. I flinched. My body still expected sighs and eye rolls and honestly, Lindsay. Carol just grabbed a towel. "It's a table. It's been through worse." Arthur nodded solemnly. "I once spilled gravy on a Thanksgiving centerpiece in 1998. The family survived." Hazel giggled. A real giggle. Dry humor is how I survived my childhood. Warm humor is how Hazel was healing. Then one afternoon, it happened. Hazel was running toward Carol in the kitchen, arms open, and she shouted, "Grandma Carol." I stopped breathing. I expected correction. I expected discomfort. I expected someone to say, "Oh, no, sweetheart, I'm not your." Carol turned, opened her arms, and said, "There's my girl." Just like that. Arthur looked up from his newspaper. "Hey, kiddo." And Hazel beamed. I went to the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror for a full minute because my eyes were wet and I was furious at how unfair it was that love could be that easy if people simply chose it. That week, I updated the documents that mattered. School pickup. Emergency contacts. Medical permissions. Guardianship plan. Quiet. Legal. Permanent. If anything happened to me, Hazel would go to Carol and Arthur. Not my parents. Not Heather. Not Chad. It was the most adult sentence I'd ever written. And my hand didn't shake once. Rebecca and I got closer too. Not in a let's sit and discuss our feelings for 3 hours way. In a real-life way. We swapped childcare once, then again. We vented while the kids played. It started to feel like sisterhood without either of us naming it. Then Rebecca invited me to a single-parent play meetup she ran once a week at a community center. It's low stakes, she promised. Kids play. Adults pretend they remember how to socialize. That sounded like my kind of nightmare. So I went. And that's where I met Noah. He walked in with a little boy, Sam, who had a cowlick and the serious expression of a child evaluating whether this place had snacks. Noah wasn't flashy. He didn't walk in like he was auditioning to be everyone's favorite dad. He just noticed things. He held the door for a mom juggling a stroller. He picked up a dropped sippy cup like it wasn't beneath him. He nodded at Hazel like she was a person, not an accessory to me. It didn't happen all at once. Noah became a steady part of our routine. Then our life. Hazel and Sam clicked in that easy way kids do when they're not forced. Sundays at Carol and Arthur's became normal. Noah and Sam joined us. A year passed. Quiet. Solid. Safe. And somehow, without fanfare, we ended up planning a wedding. 1 year after the Thanksgiving that started it all, my life looked nothing like it used to. I was engaged to Noah. Hazel had Sam and Ava like built-in best friends. Carol and Arthur weren't nice people we met once. They were family. My biological family had been silent for a year. So when Mom's name lit up my phone, I stared at it like it might bite. Noah looked up from his coffee. "You okay?" "Define okay," I said, and answered. "Lindsay," my mother said, voice careful and controlled. The same tone from the highway. "I hear you're getting married." "Yeah." A beat. Then the real reason. "Where is our invitation?" I kept my voice calm. "You're not invited." Silence. Then outrage, like I'd broken a sacred law. "What do you mean you're not inviting us?" "I mean exactly that." "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "We're your parents." "What was ridiculous," I said slowly, "was you calling my 6-year-old embarrassing." "Don't start," she warned. I almost laughed. Muscle memory. "I'm not starting," I said. "I'm finishing." She hung up. Then the pressure came in waves. Calls. Texts. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years suddenly discovering my number like it was a hobby. "You can't not invite your parents. Be the bigger person. Family is family." I explained once. One sentence to one cousin who asked genuinely. They rejected Hazel. She heard it. "I'm protecting her." The line went quiet after that. Then the voicemail arrived from my mother. "We're coming anyway," she said, tight and satisfied, like she'd solved a problem. Like she still had control. Heather texted, "You're being dramatic. This is why nobody can deal with you." Noah listened to it all, jaw tight. "You're not crazy," he said quietly. "Thank you. I'd like that embroidered on a pillow." We arranged security for the wedding. One rule. No exceptions. No one approaches Hazel. Wedding day arrived. I was getting ready with Rebecca fussing over a curling iron, Carol fixing Hazel's dress, and Arthur standing nearby pretending he wasn't emotional. Hazel spun in her dress. "Do I look fancy?" "You look like trouble," Rebecca said fondly. "The best kind." Carol smiled at Hazel. "Our girl." Arthur cleared his throat. "Ready, kiddo?" Then the coordinator stepped in, face professional but tense. "Lindsay, your parents are here. And your sister's family." My pulse spiked. Noah was instantly beside me. "Want them removed?" I looked at Hazel. Bright dress. Little bracelet. 6-year-old heart still healing. I wasn't risking a shouting match with Hazel within earshot. "No," I said. "Let them in. Back row. Away from Hazel. If they move toward her, stop them immediately." The coordinator nodded and disappeared. Arthur offered his arm. His hand was steady and warm. That was the whole point. I stepped into the aisle. They were in the back. My mother, stiff-backed. My father, shrinking into his suit. Heather, scanning the room like it was a performance review. Chad, leaning back like he belonged. Miles and Savannah, already bored. My biological father didn't stand when I entered. Arthur did. Arthur walked me down the aisle like he was honored to be there. Like I mattered. Noah waited at the altar, eyes locked on me. The kind of gaze that says, "I choose you. I choose your child. I choose this." And we got married. My biological family watched from the back like people who'd shown up too late to matter. At the reception, Hazel was safe at the kids' table with Ava and Sam, laughing over chicken fingers. That was all I cared about. Then the DJ tapped the mic. If I can have everyone's attention. My stomach tightened. Not fear. Anticipation. Because I'd planned this part carefully. I took the microphone. "Thank you," I said, "for being here today." I paused. Then I said it. Calm. Clear. Impossible to ignore. A year ago, I was told not to come to Thanksgiving because my child was too much. Because she was embarrassing. A hush moved through the room like a wave. That call didn't take something from us. It showed me where we actually belonged. I turned toward Carol and Arthur. Carol. Arthur. You made room for us when you didn't have to. You loved Hazel like she wasn't a burden. Like she was exactly what she is, an incredible kid who deserved to be seen. The room erupted. Applause. Whistles. People standing. Carol stood, overwhelmed, tears running down her face. Arthur stood beside her, face red and proud. Rebecca, I added, voice steady, you became the sister I always needed. The one who showed up. More applause. Then I looked directly at the back row. My mother's face had gone blank. Heather looked stunned, like she'd been slapped. Chad's easy smile was completely gone. My father stared at his hands. Their faces were pale. Because now the room knew. Now everyone knew what they'd done. Now the story belonged to me. I handed the mic back to the DJ and stepped into Noah's arms. For one perfect second, everything was exactly right. Then my mother shoved her way through the crowd, face twisted. What did you just say? She hissed, voice low and furious. The truth, I said simply. You humiliated us, she snapped. In front of everyone. You humiliated a 6-year-old on the side of a freeway. I'm just matching energy. Her eyes flashed. That's my granddaughter. I kept my voice low and steady. You rejected her. You told me she was embarrassing. We did not. Stop, I said, and the word landed like a door slamming shut. You said she was embarrassing. Those were your words. She heard them. My mother tried the last weapon she had. You can't keep her from us. We have rights. We're her grandparents. And that's when I dropped it. If anything happens to me, I said evenly, calmly, Hazel goes to Carol and Arthur. Not you. Not Heather. You're not listed anywhere that matters. My mother actually staggered backward like I'd physically pushed her. You, what? You can't. I already did. It's legal. It's done. My father's eyes filled with tears. Heather looked furious, like I'd stolen something that belonged to her. My mother spun toward Hazel like she could still reclaim something, voice suddenly sweet and desperate. There you are, sweetheart. Come here. Come see Grandma. Security appeared instantly and blocked her path. Arthur stepped in too. Quiet. Calm. Immovable. Rebecca was already moving Hazel away from the chaos. Carol reached her first, practiced and calm, like this wasn't the first time she'd protected a child from grown-up chaos. This is my family, my mother said, voice rising now. Arthur's voice stayed low and firm. Not today. I looked at my mother one last time and felt something settle deep in my chest. Calm. Final. Free. I don't hate you, I said quietly. I've just stopped waiting for you to be different. Then I nodded to security. Please escort them out. They were removed. Gently but firmly. My mother kept looking back over her shoulder like she expected me to chase her. To apologize. To fold. I didn't. I crouched down in front of Hazel instead. You okay, sweetheart? Hazel frowned, confused. Was that Grandma? That was someone who doesn't get to hurt you anymore, I said softly. Hazel blinked, processing. Then she asked the most important question. Can I have cake now? I let out a shaky laugh that was half relief, half joy. Absolutely. Extra frosting. And I stood up and went back to my wedding. Back to my husband. Back to my real family. Back to the life I'd chosen. The next morning, my phone was full of messages from people who cared more about tradition than a child's feelings. I deleted them without reading most of them. Then one message came in from Aunt Susan, my mom's sister. I heard what happened. I'm proud of you. Protect Hazel. You're doing the right thing. I should have said something years ago. I'm sorry I didn't. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back, thank you. That means more than you know. And for the first time in my entire life, I meant it when I thought, I'm free. Not free from the past. That'll always be there. But free from waiting for people who were never going to change. Free from teaching my daughter that love is something you earn by being smaller. Free to build something better. Thanks for listening. And if you like this story, share it with others, and don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about finding your real family, the ones who choose to love you exactly as you are, no conditions attached. Sometimes the family you choose is the one that actually chooses you back.